literally talked about stoning an old tradition practice that no longer is applicable under the New Testament, and saying you have to see the time period compared to now is also false. You've given us a bunch of wrong statements. Maybe you can tell us a right statement, right? How do you think we're supposed to do this instead?
I think that's important, is like not focusing so much on the division, but focusing on what we can agree on.
I think it's true. Like we can all agree on the fact that taking good care of yourself is actually pretty simple.
There's this TED Talks on the guy that created the birds aren't real movement.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of a haywire idea that all birds are government drones, right? But the reason it was a social experiment, he wanted to see how he could flurry people up on an idea.
Convince people. If he could convince people.
He wasn't trying to convince people that birds weren't real.
He was trying to explore conspiracy theorist thinking, pretty much.
And to see how people would fight against it so desperately. Right? He was trying to see how, like, the polarization of conversation, whenever you come from a haywire point, how, because as above so below, now I'm only in it. Because you're fighting from this point, then this point arises equally. It's the as above, so below.
Hello.
So, like,
my name is Adam
polarizing
Ferrari,
ideas,
Chief Executive Officer.
ideas, we have to not be so polarized here and come back to the middle where we can agree from and build from there. Right?
I think where
the they statements come.
Where the average Christian, where they could agree with me, might be in the whole, we shouldn't give the demons or the devil any power over our lives, right? But where they might not agree is giving God power over our lives. Where in my journey, I have like depolarized from both, and I'm trying to find myself in the, as that friend said, like that third state, right? Realizing that there are even more ways than just God is real or God isn't real. That there is the third state that is spirituality, said in so many words, the pursuit of what God is, right? And continuing that pursuit, or keeping it alive at the very least in our species. Because
I said that at the very beginning of all of this. I did dive into that as well. It's something I could definitely agree on, is like this spiritual pursuit is unique to the individual.
Yeah.
It's very unique to the individual. Each person is going to express that divine spiritual pursuit differently. Some people will do it in a way that's coping. A lot of our life, a lot of the human experience is coping.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of trauma that happens at birth. Being birthed into this world alone is a traumatic experience for not just the baby.
Sure, your first death.
Yeah. So, like, there's a lot of coping that's happening. There's a lot of bypassing that's happening. Bypassing being like, oh, this is the way that it is because of that. And so because this is the way that it is, I'm not even going to pursue or question that. It's just that, right? There's the spiritual bypassing, saying that, oh, like, I'm a Pastafarian, we'll say, and because I believe in this, then I don't even have to consider that other thing. Right?
Floating spaghetti monsters.
So many variables. But the spiritual pursuit is to the individual. Like, it's all individual experiences, and how we choose to express ourselves in that divine spiritual pursuit is our own path. It should be a thing that we can use as the examples. Like that card said, allow our healing. And we have to do work in healing because we're all coping with something. Allow our healing to be a healing that inspires and not discourages.
I think you're right. Yeah. It's not always easy to quantify, but we can try. We can try to continue to show up. Imagine growing up during communism, when God worship was strictly prohibited. Most soldiers wore a cross under their army-issue uniforms. I see myths not just as stories, but as frameworks for realities or operating systems. They're vessels or expressions of a type of truth. That's why we find these common themes across different religions. Agreed. Who else is so lost and confused of what they are talking about? Yeah, I was also a little bit lost there for a
I
while.
think there's a point where both of us were trying to get, or we're lost and trying to come back to a center point.
It's true. I think we have grounded ourselves again at least. Now it's about time you cue in. Persona is what this is. It's not that deep. Mask up or down. You decide. Agreed. And I really agree with you, Hoopy, in that way. Where that was almost what I was trying to say to you, is that this mask that I am wearing, I have only been able to cultivate because of a certain way of being. Right? It's like that. It's almost like a little bit of, uh, again, the oppositional defiance that has that quality to it, where sometimes you need the rebel in a society. You need the rebel energy. Like you actually need that to like shake things up and make a real difference in the world. Like you cannot have the big change without that energy kind of thing. And that's the mask that I have chosen to wear. Like you said this yesterday, oppositional defiance. There it is.
Disorder?
This is a type of disorder.
Behavioral disorder characterized by a persistent pattern of anger / irritable mood, argumentative / defiant behavior, or vindictive lasting at least 6 months.
Yeah, it lasted my entire life. It's the matter. Oppositional defiance is if you read the rest of the check. Right, affecting roughly 3 to 10% of children. It involves frequent defiance of authority figures, causing significant disruption at home or school. Getting told I'm gonna burn in hell because of the significant disruptions that I caused. Often losing my temper. I was touchy, didn't want to be touched, easily annoyed, angered, or resentful. Argumentative and defiant, argues with adults, actively defies the rules, deliberately annoys others. And my deliberate annoyance wasn't convincing them that they're wrong and there's no such thing, kind of thing. Uh, these are generals.
Revenge-seeking behavior.
Yeah, for me, that spiteful or revenge-seeking behavior was again in feeling like a place of superiority and knowing that all of the religious teachings I've been taught is a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, interesting.
Right, like these words I learned because of the way I am. Right, like my mom had me at a specialist. That's where I found out that I have dyslexia and that I'm on the autism spectrum, and that's also where like I went back to him as an older person to go and get my proficiency tests done. Right, so he got to see me as like during my developmental period, and oppositional defiance is one of the things that he identified in me. Where even with this like random stranger, he would say certain things, and I would have certain responses.
Yeah, I recognize it in you for sure.
And like that
I think you kind of talked about it just a second ago, where you sometimes are conversationally combative. And it's like, you're starting to combat me, and this wasn't supposed to be a combative conversation. You know, and I think that even right now, you're being a little bit combative. It's like you're coming on with a lot of like energy that's like almost even authoritative.
I wouldn't put it past myself. I think it's especially when this topic, I think it's because of the nature of the topic that we're discussing as well, that this part with me comes out.
I think you'll continue to disarm the trigger, but it is a trigger within you. And I think it's something that needs to be disarmed.
It's caused a lot of pain in my life.
I definitely think so, but I think it's one of those things that you need to realize that it's not dangerous.
I don't agree with that at all.
It's not dangerous to you. Like, are you in danger?
It's fucking our world up.
No, what?
Like,
see, your death is not dangerous.
Yeah.
Also, it's the central. We have the tools to center ourselves. We've been taught how to ground. We've been taught how to realize, oh, I am in no danger right now. The danger is perceived. The danger is something that's been tacked onto us. Again, now take this conversation as like an experience of life. We are that little ball that's tacking everything on. And so having this conversation is not dangerous. But however, you are in a fight or flight, and your amygdala is like in that fight mode. Like you're physically heated.
Yeah, I can feel it.
And we have the tools to recognize, to draw back to the observing self, like, oh, all right, if I want to be clear concise, calculated, understand this from a clean state. There's tools that we have to do that, and that's the healing. That's the healing that's supposed to be the inspiring healing.
I'm trying. I'm getting better. I definitely have had a lot of emotional trauma in my life with this specific topic. Right, so I think in that, there's a lot of work for me still to be done to, as you said, disarm those triggers slowly but surely.
Walking around with a trigger is like walking around with a loaded gun.
Yeah.
So like it's up to the individual to disarm that gun.
I'm trying. Guys, both of you are correct. It's just trying to say the elephant is a trunk, front view, but someone says the elephant's a tail, rear view. They're both right, but they have different perspectives. Nice scarf. Thank you, Hoops. Religion is the glue that holds tribes together, and belief is the hip of faith. What matters is our submission to it. Yeah. Sir Isaac Newton was a theologian, had an understanding of physics on a level which many will never touch. You never know what's hiding behind the door. In it with you all, love to you, Hoops. By the way, did you know the etymology? I just got deja vu. Really deja vu. Oh my goodness. Have we done this before? Oh my, I'm getting more deja vu. You crazy. Okay, let me recount myself again. By the way, did you know the etymology of religion? It comes from the Latin word religio, which means to bind. Of course. But could also mean a reverence or to glorify. Joe likes thinking, Melt likes thinking. This is true. I have read the Bible intensely. That's why I don't believe in it. So I've read the scripture plenty. Yeah, same. I also was like one of those kids that I don't think I'm as knowledgeable on the Bible anymore. I did a lot of my Bible reading when I was like around 14 to 19. That bird baby screaming. And Joe's gonna have some words with him. I like the way you guys have conversations. I can sense your disagreements, but you'll work them out. That's cool. We try that. Like me and Joe will have moments like this. Alright? Like we are both very strong individuals in our beliefs and in our ways of perceiving, I think, the self and the way that the self wants to be perceived. I think what Joe does a lot for me is that she wants the best for me too. And she wants the impact of this stream to be felt by everyone. Right? That's the way I'm perceiving how this conversation has been going. Like you want the best for the friends on the other side as well, and you know that some percentage of them might be on the other side of the camp, right? And drawing hard lines in the sand of like, we are on this side of the camp and you are on that side of the camp, can't alienate and cause the same separation that we're trying to fight against.
Yeah, definitely.
Slowly but surely we'll grow more wise, more patient, more kind, more considerate, more deliberate in the information we choose to share. I appreciate you friends for sharing this information with us today. Combat journeys. I like the way you guys have conversations. I can sense your disagreements, but y'all work them out, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I think my problem is I don't have a lot of beliefs. I'm more about pure facts kind of guy, so when someone says that's what you believe, it gets to me. Agree. Because that is not what I believe. It's what I can prove and show what is real. Real. Had a whole stream conversation in that as well. I had fun discussing.
Combat journey is like a health person, right?
He's
Combat journey teaches
he does martial arts.
martial arts and knows.
Oh! I just freaking unmodded Sam accidentally. Sorry about that, Sam. I was trying to like hit this button to get myself into the bottom of chat.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah. You were
Being
saying
a health person, I think like there's a lot of anatomy, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of peer-reviewed things that can lead you to this certainty of the way that things scientifically like really are, and those are important things to like understand and stay true on. You know, the rest of the stuff that's out there, with theology, philosophies, all of these other things, those are things that can't be measured. Spirituality is a thing that cannot be measured. You can't measure it. It's interesting. We kind of had this conversation about how, like, the asanas and the practices, the breath works and the chants yesterday used to be a thing that we didn't really fully understand why or how. It was woo-woo stuff, so like we didn't incorporate it into the Western world. But we're starting to have the instrumentation now to measure why these things worked, and it might not be because of this spiritual tie to like this divine thing that exists. It might be just because the vibrations in our nose, whenever we go hum, actually vibrates and breaks nitric oxide and then allows your VO2 ceiling
to increase,
right? So like we now are learning scientifically. We're like bridging the gap between science and spirituality. Like we do have the instrumentation, and that is the world's pursuit on like what's happening. Like it's the collective world. It's like there is like this science race to understand what's happening.
I think that's beautifully said, and I think to add to what you're saying, that's why people kind of like polarize.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
It's because they like see some of that evidence, as you said, arising from something that was usually attached to some like mystical thinking, and then it's like, oh, none of it's mystical. All of it probably has like
a scientific basis.
Yeah.
It can be measured.
And then we try, right?
See the intricacies of why it works. There was this conversation between Dr. Mike and Dr. K. It was such a, because like they're so kind of
different, right?
Right. And it talked about like the instrumentation and the spiritual, like the instrumentation in the Western world, and like Ayurveda, the spiritual connection and everything. And Dr. K brought out the idea of like why, like if we were to explain to an alien, like we use penicillin, right? And then we could just give the alien penicillin. It's like use this to administer the world because it works. Same with like the asanas or the humming or the chants or the mantras or the, whatever. It works.
I was imagining like trying to teach her alien yoga, and then after my class he drops dead on the floor. It's like.
Anyways, he's like, well, what's the problem if you just say penicillin works and just do penicillin, like the exercises works, just do the exercise. Why can't you just give penicillin? Because of resistance from bacteria, which is something that there are intricacies into why these things work that like we have to continue to explore deeper as to why they work, so we can optimize them, even like use them efficiently. So whereas the chants used to be a thing that had this like mystical tie, we're now realizing that there's physical bodily things that are happening whenever we do them. They worked. They had spent 2,000 years trying to perfect how they worked. They didn't know why, they didn't know how, but now we in the Western world have the instrumentation to be able to measure it. Because we now have, we can go to the moon with the camera kind of thing. We have the instruments to do things. That's the scientific pursuit and the spiritual pursuit are just like parallel. They're happening.
Yeah. Thinking about the like start of the science era, and Nietzsche being born in that era as well. I don't know if you know that line "God is dead" was said by Nietzsche.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that he was mourning. He was mourning God's death, and he was seeing us as the murderers, right, of that God. And it's not the ultimate killing of God. Science. We got Merman here.
Merman.
Hey, Merman. It's not like the ultimate killing of God. Like we cannot kill what God is, but it's almost like killing that like idea, that fantasy, that exuberation, is that the word I'm looking for, that comes with believing in some force larger than us, governing everything, helping steer us, having like a God that has a plan for our lives, kind of thing. That's what we killed as a species. And I feel, and this is why I kind of like admire some of Nietzsche's writings. He talked about something called an Ubermensch. I don't know if you know this. He talked about how if that is the case, then there is this almost like call to the individual to rise up, to be that which we have killed in our society, kind of thing, right? And I feel like that's what this community is about in large part, is that we're trying to make ourselves, we're trying to evolve ourselves so that we can be more full people in this world. And I don't know with any certainty that we can do that if we outsource our own salvation, or even outsource our own sin, kind of thing, right? It goes both ways for me.
Right, for sure. That's the spiritual bypassing. That is like to a T what spiritual bypassing is, because like putting it on somebody else to it's somebody else's responsibility to do your work. Hell no, that's not how it works. Like, yeah, the things that happen to us are not our fault. Things don't have to be our fault to be our responsibility. Like, as I said, a lot of our teachers will say we were innocently born into a chaotic world, and this world is definitely chaotic. It's sporadic. There's things that happen, and we have no way to explain them. A rock falls, and like a tree limb falls, and it onto your car. You have no control over that. Like, it's the wind, and it's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to deal with it. Same with our emotions. Our emotions will come up. They will arise. Things that have happened to us through our developmental stages. It's not our fault that they happen in that way. It's not helpful to even place blame on the reason that it happens, but it is our responsibility to recognize how we respond to it, and then recognize how we naturally want to react to it, and then learn how to respond to it better every time. Because it will continue. It's like if we find patterns within ourselves.
And increasing the gap between the stimulus and the response, giving us more time to grow in that way as well, right? Even in the gap between the stimulus and the response, reflecting on how we responded before to this kind of stimuli, and then choosing from a place of consciousness how to be differently. And even in that deliberation, you might still fall short. But
we're gonna always be falling short, because it's an infinity that we're choosing from, right? There's no way to know. But it's the thing. It's like getting better each time. And you know what? Sometimes we might fall back down, but as long as we don't fall back down to the rock bottom again, that's the worst fall that we ever did before, and then we can't get back up. There's still life happens like this. Life should happen like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Not completely linear.
Sometimes it's like.
But it still has a little bit of a step function going on.
But there should be this reflection. We should have moments of reflection, just to see relatively where we are on this path and where we've been, and optimize it. That's the only way that we can all bring ourselves back up.
Optimization. What was that stream topic? Iteration optimization. Iteration optimization. Yeah.
It's interesting to me, I guess, the ways that these things are approached. Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy that I'm interesting at the very least. I'll take that as a win. Come across Subdream 2. Hoopty is here with us too. Is he Dutch? Almost. Afrikaans, eigenlijk. Seems like y'all had a fun conversation earlier. We did, Hoopty. It definitely was a different time, and we do not have to take that in. But we have to remember this. People use this excuse in the Bible to justify slavery. I could just be scientist weather change. That's what I think mine is. Scientist weather change. I haven't heard that one before. Like maybe with the weather changing, his sinus weather change. I'm not sure. What I do know is that you are loved and appreciated for joining us today. I do feel like I'm ready to finish today's stream and get ready for the rest of the day. My bad sinus, man. My bad scientist. My bad sinuses. Do I have cards here? I do. Mm, watch.
You want these cards? Oh, you want those cards?
Do you want to pull? We haven't pulled from the Work Your Light book in a while now. And I don't think my book is here. And there it is. Yeah, guess that's it. Yeah. I trust that we will all get better soon again. That this too shall pass. And that the little friends that is our immune system will show up for us. You can sit on my lap now. The way you had sat before. It's actually comfy. Do you want me to kick this thing out? Yes, I'll say so. Alright, we've had our ceremony, we have our marriage license. I think for us, like, the married part to me is like the next 20 years kind of thing, you know? Like, being married is way more than just getting papers kind of thing. Is it okay to tell a joke? Are jokes allowed? Absolutely not. If you see me laughing, you know, maybe my third eye will open up and pure cosmic fire will blast off. Of course. That was me. That was me telling a joke. You know, opening the stage for you, Hoopty. Hi, Baluna says, I'm from India. Balaji Nayak, long time chatting girl. Balaji Nayak.
I'm laughing at the merman. 20 years.
20 years.
It's life, homie.
It's for life. I mean, I was more like trying to extend the time frame for marriage instead of it being like
Happy birthday to Savannah.
Happy
Birthday to Savannah. Happy birthday to Savannah. Happy birthday to you.
Savannah. Have a good one. Nice to meet you. Subscribe to your channel. Thank you so much. And good night. Thank you, Luna friend. It was nice having you here. Balai Nayak. Maybe that's the name. I'm not sure. Bless again, Savannah. Hi, bro. I'm from Hyderabad to India, Bala, Chennai. You're just making very nice. Thank you, friend. Thank you for making nice with us. Savannah, happy B-Day. Thanks. Love is true. That's awesome. Thank you, friends, for joining us today. What a stream. What a conversation we had about what friends are. I feel like we've shown, like, the friends and me and you to the world as well about, like, sometimes friends disagree about the way that things should be done. And if there's a willingness to stay present in that conversation, you can keep your friends. Have you made progress in planning your marriage celebration gathering? No. I was literally thinking about Kate this morning and thinking about that we should have like space. We're gonna do it in May. That's the plan. I think May is gonna be the time where most of our friends have time off and can plan. I don't know if you have any more, let's call it developments on your process, dear Gabarigo. Maybe you can let us know too. We want to include all of you friends. I think that's the biggest bottleneck. Is like, how do we include everybody? All right, like send an invite to all 8 billion people on planet Earth. It's like, come on, just come and hang out. What's the problem? I'm getting hot.
And you do have a big fluffy winter jacket on.
There's a jacket up, and so in my own skin right now. We pull a card. I appreciate you for joining us, dear friends. I'll see you again.
At you. Starship just tears straight through. That fence is no obstacle at all.
That fence is
Now
no
let's
obstacle
make
at all.
things more interesting.
Now let's
This
make things
time
more
it's the
interesting.
iconic Hollywood sign. One you see in every other movie set in America. And now SpaceX Starship crashes into it.
The crashing SpaceX Starship into objects.
Steel frame buckles, the letters are reduced to a little more than a brief obstruction, and most of the impact carries straight into the hillside behind them. There's an explosion, fire, and debris flying dozens of yards in every direction. Now for number 3. The U.S.-Mexico border wall is a whole different story. This one's much more serious. And then SpaceX Starship slams into it. This time you can actually feel it. The energy goes straight into the metal. The beams bend and then shear apart, and the sections crumple in on themselves. The wall wouldn't completely vanish, but it would end up with a massive hole torn through it. And now for something truly substantial, the Great Wall of China. Here, for the first time, there's a real sense of resistance. Stones and bricks start breaking apart, and the wall collapses pretty quickly at the point of impact. A breach opens up, surrounded by rubble and debris. Yes, this time a meaningful part of the energy actually goes into the wall itself. And it does put up a fight. Well, at least something's trying to resist. Defend yourself, old geezer! Hey, I'm over 2,000 years old. Show some respect. And now we move on to a place where everything is supposed to be dead serious. Area 51. A secret military base with fences, patrols, and aliens. They definitely wouldn't let us in. But we have a SpaceX Starship flying straight into the base. At that point, none of that security matters anymore. The fences go down instantly with no real resistance. Light hangers crumple like tin cans. I told you Earth was a terrible vacation spot. Still better than visiting your mom. Now let's talk about a place where a mistake would cost an unbelievable amount. The new safe confinement at Chernobyl. I probably don't need to remind you what exactly is inside, right? And then a SpaceX Starship crashes into it. Naturally, the structure wouldn't hold, the outer panels would crumple, the frame would buckle, and a huge breach would open up. The force of the impact would keep traveling inward through the internal supports. And after that, well, that becomes a very different story. Let's pick something more aquatic. An object in the middle of the sea. Deepwater Horizon was a huge offshore drilling platform, a forest of steel beams, pipes, and tanks full of oil and gas. And then a SpaceX Starship slams into that plane. Tanks are punctured, pipes are torn apart, and a massive hole opens in the structure. Debris scatters across the water's surface, but that's only the beginning, because the oil and gas would ignite, causing a fireball and a chain of explosions. Flames, smoke, unbelievably high temperatures, then comes the oil spill. Dead birds, fish, and marine animals everywhere. The result is an environmental disaster and billions of dollars in damage. Next up's the Titanic, the giant steel ocean liner. Okay, this is the perfect place for a Kung Fu Panda reference. Loudly, a worthy opponent, and then a SpaceX Starship crashes into it. Naturally, the hull wouldn't save it because it was the outer shell and decks would be ripped apart almost instantly, and then the force of the collision would tear through the interior structure. The ship stops being a ship very quickly. Any idiot could do that. Okay, this is the perfect place for a Kung Fu Panda reference. Finally, a worthy opponent. And then a SpaceX Starship.
A worthy opponent.
Naturally, the hull wouldn't save it because it was never designed to withstand anything like a rocket impact. The outer shell and decks would be ripped apart almost instantly, and then the force of the collision would tear through the interior structure. The ship stops being a ship very quickly. Any idiot can do that with a rocket. Now let's take a symbol everyone recognizes from the very first frame, the Statue of Liberty. It looks massive, but inside it's hollow. Basically a steel framework with a big copper skin on the outside. Not exactly tougher than the Hollywood side. And then SpaceX Starship shows up. Naturally, there's almost no real resistance. The outer shell tears open immediately, the frame buckles, and the whole structure starts breaking apart at the point of impact. Next up is Big Ben. It handles weight from above really well. From the side, though, not nearly as well. So if SpaceX Starship slams into it, the walls at the impact point would start crumbling and collapsing almost instantly.
Get that tea?
Up fast, and chunks of the tower are blasted outward in every direction. The next tower takes us to Paris, the Eiffel Tower, a gigantic metal structure that, of course, is not made of one solid piece of metal.
British.
But also kind of cold. For SpaceX Starship, that's not.
Ow!
The impact hits the lower and middle sections, the metal starts bending, the beams tear apart, the joints fail, and part of the structure collapses downward. The damage is catastrophic. But unlike more brittle structures, the tower doesn't completely completely vanish, it's built in a way that lets part of it keep standing anyway. I never liked it either. A scar on the face of Paris. Now let's move on to something even more powerful. The Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. It was engineered to withstand wind and even earthquakes. But definitely not a SpaceX Starship. Nope. Alters, the tower doesn't completely vanish. Metal starts bending, the beams tear apart, the joints fail, and part of the structure collapses downward. The damage is catastrophic. But unlike more brittle structures, the tower doesn't completely vanish. It's built in a way that lets part of it keep standing anyway. I never liked it anyway. A scar on the face of Paris. Now let's move on to something even more powerful. The Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. It was engineered to withstand wind and even earthquakes. But definitely not a SpaceX Starship. Nope.
Meow. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow, meow, master. Master at my feet. I pet kitty. I'm petting the kitty right now. Come here. Come here. Let me pet you one more time. He's coming. Here he is. He's coming to me. He loves me. Oh, you love me. You love me.
Is extremely strong, especially under vertical pressure, which is exactly why we're not hitting it from above.
Go, kitty, go, go. Go, kitty, go, go.
At that point, sheer strength no longer helps much. The impact hits laterally across the carved surface. Stone cracks. Fractures race through the granite, across cheeks, noses, and chins. Some pieces break off.
What is it, kitty?
Yikes, guys. Next time. Next up is the Great Pyramid of Giza.
What is it?
It
needs a water bowl filled.
Layers, sheer mass, and the downward pressure of all that weight make it remarkably stable. That's basically why it survived for so long. Now imagine a SpaceX Starship slamming into the side of it, right where the structure is most vulnerable. The outer blocks at the point of impact would be blasted out of place like ordinary bricks. Even though each one weighs about 2.5 tons, the stone would shatter. Part of the structure would collapse downward, and the pyramid's stepped shape in that area would be torn apart. Moving on, here's one of the most recognizable bridges in the world, the Golden Gate Bridge. The whole structure was designed to handle wind, earthquakes, and constant traffic. But not a rocket, right? Then a SpaceX Starship crashes into it, and the impact point of the spin would crumple instantly. Metal would tear apart, pieces of the framework would fly off, and some cables might snap under the force. Debris would rain down into the water below.
Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. 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 Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Not a strike from the outside? Well, now it's getting one. So SpaceX Starship slams into the dam. At the point of impact, the concrete could be breached. A hole opens up, and water immediately starts blasting through it. It begins as a powerful jet, then quickly grows stronger. From there, the water surges downstream along the Colorado River. The river spills over, flooding everything in its path. Roads, buildings, and critical infrastructure. The flow is fast, destructive, and it's something absolutely nobody is prepared for. Next up, Niagara Falls.
Asatuma
Rushing along the Niagara River.
Sagamaya
That's why they call it a waterfall.
Tamasuma
Right here. At the impact point, everything's thrown into
Jyotir
disarray.
Kamaya
The flow is disrupted and water and debris crashes
Mrityurma
massive waves and swelling
Amritam
It's total chaos.
Kamaya
Since we're already thinking big, let's stop looking at a single structure and go with an entire city. Or more specifically, the island of Manhattan. They were designed for wind loads and sometimes even earthquakes, but not for something falling out of the sky and wiping everything out. So SpaceX Starship crashes into one of the neighborhoods. At the impact point, everything starts collapsing. Towers crumble, floors cave in, buildings lose support and come crashing down. Fires break out, utility lines rupture, and water from broken pipes pours into the streets. The power goes out. In other words, total chaos. But if you zoom out, it's still local. Yes, one area is devastated. but the rest of the island is still standing, and life there goes on. Now let's move on from a city or a single building to an entire system that a huge share of global shipping depends on.
I spilled some of your water.
It's not just a canal.
Look out, sama stuff. Sugino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sugino Bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy.
Water would surge through the damaged sections, flood
May
nearby areas, and throw
all the
off the entire
beings
balance
in
of
all
and
the
that
worlds
balance was only
be happy.
Now for a true giant, Yellowstone National Park.
May the love we share here spread its way
Stretching across thousands of square
and
miles.
fly across
It's
the
basically
earth.
an entire world of its own. Now imagine a SpaceX Starship hitting some random spot there.
Sing a song to every heart
You might get something like
that is alive.
would not look too catastrophic. Geothermal
Whoops.
areas could also be damaged. Geysers might
I
temporarily
spilled some.
change the way they act, and hot water could start venting.
I'm sorry, I spilled some on you. I got the cat wet.
On the map, but it'd still be just a dot. And finally, mountains.
I got you wet, buddy. I'm sorry.
Suddenly stopped looking so large. Here's Mount Fuji, rising more than 12,000 feet high. It's an enormous mass of rock towering over the landscape, and at the same time, one of the most iconic mountains in the world. Next to that, the rocket suddenly doesn't look nearly as impressive. Even so, the SpaceX Starship slams into the slope. At the point of impact, everything is blasted apart. The ground shifts, rocks are thrown downhill, and a small crater could form. Rock falls begin, and localized landslides are possible. The vegetation and trails in that area are simply wiped out. In some places, small snowslides or snow collapses could happen, and the mountainside would be reshaped. But all of that would stay limited to one section. Compared to the mountain as a whole, it would remain barely noticeable. Mount Fuji would still remain what it is. And now for the absolute maximum in height, Mount Everest. More than 29,000 feet tall, ice, rock, an enormous mass that feels overwhelming just from its sheer scale. Everything else looks like a toy in comparison. The tiny SpaceX Starship slams into the slope. At the point of impact, part of the mountain gives way. Ice and rock break loose and crash downward, triggering a rock slide, and cracks could spread through the glacier. It's even possible that the remains of climbers who died there over the past few decades could be dragged down with it. There's enough force to seriously damage one specific area, but that's all it is, one area, one small piece of an enormous mountain. Damn mosquitoes! I'm telling you, this is all global warming. And now presenting Kim Jong-un's armored train. Several cars protected by thick steel armor. That kind of defense is designed for gunfire and explosions, basically the sort of dangers the North Korean leader might realistically worry about in everyday life. A missile strike, however, is not on the usual list, and then the SpaceX Starship hits the train track. At that point, the armor is useless. The cars are crushed instantly, metal tears apart, and fragments fly in every direction. Some sections buckle, others crack and break apart completely, and rails beneath the train fail too, destroyed along with the ground underneath them. And all of it happens in a matter of seconds. In short, Kim Jong-un might want to give that train an upgrade. You owe me a like. See you later.
I got you a like. Valve is doomed.
Find your perfect tax expert, whatever your tax situation might be. Right now, you're probably part of a massive multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against Valve, and you don't even know it. A UK tribunal greenlit a massive class action case where millions of gamers are suing Valve, accusing the company of illegally overcharging players. If it succeeds, the fallout could change PC gaming forever. I'm Josh, and on today's episode of the Infographics Show, we're explaining why the UK is suing Valve. So, who actually brought this case? The case was filed by Vicky Shotbolt on behalf of roughly 14 million UK Steam users. Any Valve user over 13 who made a purchase between June 4th, 2018 and June 4th, 2024 is affected by this opt-out class action lawsuit. That means you could literally be suing Gabe Newell and the Steam team right now unless you actively opt out. Shotbolt, by her own admission, is not a gamer. She's a digital rights activist, and that's the basis of her case. She alleges that UK customers have paid more than they should for PC games and add-ons on Steam, arguing that Valve has abused its dominant market position. How so? Well, the lawsuit claims Valve charges excessive prices for games on Steam. The platform takes a commission on every Steam.
This is our freedom. Some inspirational music. That was awesome. Inky, 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 yeah, inky boy.
Coffee. We're out here at beautiful Pensacola.
This is our freedom.
The beach. So they've extended it out here. It's loud. I'm sure you can hear the waves. But back in the Dab Lab, you know your boy's got something even louder than these waves. I got a real banger. I got that Sure Banger 22 coming at you. I've been waiting to do this one. It's a cross of Biker Kush and Sour Diesel, I believe. We'll verify that when we get up in there. We'll get it in the light box and get a good look. All right, let's cut into this. Let's get the mystery all the way out of the Mylar of this Sure Banger 22. This one is a cross of Biker Kush and Sour Diesel. That's right, folks. Just like that New Yorker we looked at the other day, this is another Sour Diesel cross. So I'm excited to get into this one. Boom, into the bag. Just met with the beautiful aroma. And it is absolutely smelling like a Sherbanger. But when you smoke it, I really couldn't decide what was dominating. It seemed like I tasted, I would taste some of that Kush, and then I might taste some of the Sour Diesel, the fuel and the lemony flavor. I just could not make my mind up what flavor I was getting out of it. But these are beautiful buds coming out of the flowery, man. You guys know they're my favorite in the state of Florida. They do an absolutely fantastic job. Let's snap one of these jokers and see what it looks like on the inside. The crystals are looking amazing, looking nice and clean all the way through there. Man, the flower does a fantastic job with flower. And don't forget their rosins, too. That's the home of 710 here in Florida. Because here in Florida, we have what we call vertical integration. So that means that the dispensary, they have to grow the brand. They have to do everything. They have to grow. They have to extract. They have to do it all themselves. So there's no trading amongst dispensaries. So it's all done by the flower. Let's get this in the bong. Cody, get it. Rip it and see what this thing is hitting for. And I'm telling you, the nose is going crazy. I can't wait to go ahead and give this thing a rip, so let's get it. Absolutely crazy flavor, man. This a little bit of long expansion, nice smooth flour. We ain't gonna mess around. Let's get this thing spun up and done up with that proper tip and see what it's hitting for. Yeah, we got this thing spun up and done up, man. If I don't say so myself, this is one of my best looking rolls. Let's fire it up and see if it's smoking as good as it looks. I think I'm tasting mostly Kush. Kind of on that initial fire up like a sour Kush. We'll keep smoking and tell you what we find there, man. Wow, it's different in this joint than it was in the bong. But that is just the fire up. Yeah, you can definitely taste a lot of fuel in this roll. A lot of fuel. Man, if you got this one before, you let me know what you're picking up on it. It's a lot of flavor going on, that's for sure. Definitely interesting flavor. I can't tell which one's dominant. At times I'm tasting Biker Kush or Kush. Other times I'm tasting that sour diesel flavor. Smoking great and great flour to roll. Man, all the flour coming out of the flowery is perfect cured, man. I'm telling you. It's all grown by the flowery, but this is one of their own cuts or their house brand. And it's freaking awesome. They've got a lot of good stuff on the house brand. Anything from the flowery is going to be fire, basically. You know, it depends on what you like, right? I've been saying there's a reason all these companies are working with the flowery in Florida, right? And it's because they keep a higher standard than other places, I promise you. Hey, let's jump over for an ash check real quick. There we go. That's a beautiful looking icy white ash. Decent burn. Nice and oily. That's our a little short fatty, properly rolled up of the Sherbanger 22. Yeah, not bad at all, man. I'm enjoying this one. It's very potent, it's for sure. The first ball grip fucking set me into. It's actually getting bored about midway. Maybe it's getting potent and powerful. This thing's blowing. Yeah, this is heavy, man. I'm freaking stoned. Yeah, just got back from the beach. Y'all saw the intro. I was out there. We were over at the baby beach, the family and I. All right, we're going in for a second ass check. Looking great, looking fantastic. I was sure to give it a nice grind, and I think that's a lot of what you need to do to get your cleaner burn is just give it a nice clean grind. So it's going to burn clean. We got a nice even burn on this thing too. So very happy with the way this one turned out. I'm enjoying this, the flavor, the effects. I got a couple more. I got a few more actually coming from. I got Jungle Juice. I've got Musty Buffalo, and I got Kim Dog. And I'm going to find some more, man. Please get in the comments, suggest some stuff from the Flowery in Florida that you want to see me try out. I imagine eventually we can try the whole menu. Oh, we're almost at the glass. We got to get a real quick final ass check, a little looky-look. Yeah, we're right down on the glass. I'm going to tab back over, and I'm going to hit this as much as I can until it's gone. Looking great. I don't want the oil to run in the tip, though. Right? Ash is looking fantastic. It's burning good. It's still hitting pretty well, too. So, y'all, I got a ball vape here, man. Maybe I'll break it out next time. I don't do it a whole lot, man. It's just a lot of work to do it, and I'm kind of old school. I like to combust. Ball vape is great, though. I will do some videos with it again, showing the benefits of it, because everybody should know about ball vapes. And they're not as expensive as you might think. There's some pretty accessible ones like the Ruby Twist, which is exactly the one that I have. And you can use it with any of your bongs. We're going to cash this out, and we're going to hit one more bong ripski, and we're going to wrap this thing up. Surebanger 22 final bong rip in the Mario bong. Let's get it. Man, it's slapping in the bong. I really love this one in the bong. Holy crap. Yeah, final thoughts on the Surebanger 22 coming out of the Flowery in Florida. Man, it was tasty in the bong. Great looking little buds. Nose was loud. The nose reminded me more of Surebanger than the flavor did. The flavor, it was more Kush in the bong with kind of a sour, kind of stained aftertaste. And then in the joint, man, I couldn't decide which one it was dominating. I would taste Kush at times and sour diesel at others, man. If you got this one, man, get in the comments and let everybody know what your experience is. Let's have a conversation about it. This is absolutely fire, though, man. I love this one. Man, I've yet to find much that I don't like coming out of the Flowery or anything, really. They're, like I said, their standards and quality are a cut above everybody else. They're in a whole nother league, man. Not only that, they deliver to medical patients anywhere in the state of Florida. So be sure to check them out and see what's there that fits your taste. Man, I appreciate y'all hanging out, checking out this Surebanger with me. Until the next one, I'll catch y'all guys in. Peace.
Boom. Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God.
The teacher said Sophie was talking about
What are you guys into?
Codes.
Look what I just did. My front opening, trying to close the door. I just did that trying to close my door. It's everything.
Lifting pots off the wheel often looks like one of the easiest steps in the process of making pottery, yet it can actually be one of the hurdles that really stumps beginners when first learning how to throw. In part, I think that's because there are so many different ways of doing it. I also think, to some degree, there are some practices that are taught that perhaps make the process a touch more difficult than it need be. So, in this week's video, I'll be demonstrating and discussing a whole myriad of different ways of getting the pot from wheel to wearboard without damaging or distorting the pots. If you watch my videos, you'll know for the most part I tend to lift the pots off the wheel with just my hands, like so. This is arguably the most straightforward and traditional approach, but there's a knack to it and it can be difficult to learn, and it can't be applied to all shapes. The thing is, some pots are simply easier to lift off the wheel than others, such as mugs, for instance, or anything with a more enclosed opening, whereas pots like dinner plates pretty much have to be thrown on a bat. Otherwise, there's simply no easy way of lifting them away without drastically altering its shape. Ultimately, I think there are pros and cons for each method, but from an objective point of view, some techniques introduce more trouble than they're worth, and you tend to only really see them at an entry level, as they pile on additional time into the making process. The way I think of it is like this. If it's a pot that I'm making many multiples of, say dozens or hundreds, I try to lift them off with just my hands, as it means the pots themselves take up less space on the wearboards, which means I can make more whilst using less space, as ultimately one of the greatest bottlenecks you'll find as a production potter is simply running out of room to store the pots you're producing. It also means you don't have to tidy up the bats as you work, which introduces just another efficiency into the process. The thing is, this technique doesn't necessarily work that well if you're using very smooth clay bodies, as the stickier clay will just hold onto your hands even if you scrape all the slip off, which means it can be difficult to get a good grip on the pot before lifting it off. The other thing to consider is that beginners will generally work for longer on each pot when throwing them. This means the vessel as a whole can be slightly overthrown, resulting in the walls being oversaturated with water and therefore being weaker and flimsier in comparison to a mug like this, which was thrown in a minute or so, which means inherently it's simply a stronger object. This means, perhaps paradoxically, that whilst this process is the easiest and a useful skill to have, it's perhaps not quite the most beginner-friendly. To lift the pots away neatly,
Hello, friends. My name is Naya Swami Riman, and I came to Ananda Village in 1977. But in 1993, Swami Kriyananda asked Naya Swami Padma, my wife, and I to move to Seattle to help guide the work of Ananda in the state of Washington. I'd like to speak today, however, on the subject of the role of Swami Kriyananda in the spread of Kriya Yoga. Swami Kriyananda was initiated or gave his first Kriya initiation at the behest and with the guidance of his guru, our guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, in May of 1949. And for the remaining 64 years of his life, he trained and initiated countless numbers of devotees. Moreover, in the last decades of his life, he commissioned certain Ananda ministers to also give initiation in Kriya Yoga. But it's not the statistical